We welcome you guys. We're so excited to be able to be here today, and so excited that each one of you guys, chose to spend a little bit of your afternoon with me, with us. I said with me. I didn't mean that. With us. My name is Annette Wenzler. I have Angie McAllister and Ryan Myracle, and we're all from Signature Healthcare. We're a long-term care company based out of Louisville, Kentucky. We get to see you guys next year. Yay. So we just have an interesting presentation for you. A little bit about the company. We are 114 SNF buildings in about 11 different states. We segment our company into 3 different segments: post-acute, urban, and hometown or rural, based on geographical locations and some services provided. And we're fortunate enough to be in the hometown segment, which consists of about 55 SNFs. And I think I counted like six different states. But we have a lot of fun in doing what we do. So today, we really want to get into restorative nursing. How exciting is that? Woohoo! You think it's exciting? Well, we didn't think it was so exciting, and that's why we entitled this Restore Me. This is a new twist on restorative because it was so dadgum boring to be able to have to do it anyway, right? And is it an easy program? No, but it sounds easy, right? So, out of our audience today, how many of you think you have an effective restorative program in your home? Interesting. Almost. Good. Well, we hope that what we're able to show you today may put a little life into your restorative program at home. Before I dive into it, we want to thank the guys. There's only one guy back there right now. Hello. See, wave it. They helped us tremendously. We had to move some slides around, and they told us how good we were going to do today. And they've done a good job, and I don't think we give enough, accolades to them who helped put all this together, so we appreciate it. Also, when I came into the room, I said, hey, is this where the Restore Me? And they're like, what? Restore Me? What? Oh, Restore Me. And guess what the next question was? Where are you from? I'm from Tennessee, so my accent's a little off. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get started. Let's talk about what is restorative nursing anyway? What is it? It's a collection. It's interventions. It's a program. It's something that we hope is to restore function, help to improve independence, or at least maintain their level. It's got to have these items. This is what the regulations tell us, that it has to be measurable, that it's got to be documented in the care plan. It has to be documented in the clinical record. And we have to do that in order to prove we are rendering the service and to get it captured on our MDS. It has to be evaluated. You cannot do any type of program or any type of service if you're not evaluating your outcomes. That also has to be documented into the clinical record. It has to be supervised by someone on the nursing staff. And remember, there are rules. You cannot go more than how many people in a group? 4. No more than 4 individuals in a group. That is in order to be able to capture it for your MDS to pick up that category on your rugs. So we had the great pleasure of this past year, starting in November of 18, of how they renumbered and reorganized all of our federal tags. How about that? Was that exciting? That was very exciting. After you spend 20-something years of learning all the numbers, now you got to relearn them all over again. So your restorative is actually picked up in your F tag 676, which is activities of daily living and maintain abilities. And again, this is what the regulations tell us. You got to have a comprehensive assessment. It has to be inconsistent with the needs and the choices. Because what are our regulations all about this time? Choices, person-centered care. We must provide the care, and we must ensure that their abilities in their activities of daily living do not diminish. They do not diminish under circumstances unless there is a clinical indication and we have thorough documentation of that. So that's the regulation. And here are some of the examples of our restorative nursing modalities. How exciting is that? Eating, grooming. This is not all. We still have, hearing. But, bed mobility, splints. I mean, gee, doesn't that really want to make you run right into restorative today, right? Not so. Again, gosh, it was just another day in restorative. Come on, Angie. We got to do restorative today. We got to walk. We got to walk 150 feet. We've got to walk to your bathroom. Whatever it is, it's just boring. All this is just boring. The whole traditional programs, don't pull the restorative aids. Don't pull them. What happens when you pull the restorative aids? Your restorative doesn't get done. You don't get to capture it. Besides the point of even capturing it, are you rendering the services that the elders deserve? Absolutely not. Get your documentation completed. That's fun. How many? I know everybody documents perfectly, right? Yeah. And, for heaven's sakes, please make sure you get that on the MDS because we definitely want to get credit for that. So, what is Restore Me? Restore Me is a name that we came up with. We were all sitting around the table, and, we were like, gosh, what are we going to do? We can't capture restorative. We can't make it. We just make it fun. Let's make it exciting for a change. And let's look at it in a more holistic approach as to what this is and how can it be more energetic and how can we take something and interface that with restorative and still get a great outcome. So how do we put wellness in there? Because it should be all about wellness, and not only for just our elders, but what about the people we work with, and how can we get them involved, and how can we get the community involved, and how do we combat boredom and loneliness and depression, and how do we form companionship? So we sat around and we talked about it, and we wanted to say, we've got to do something different. Our elders deserve it. Our stakeholders deserve it. We've got to do something to create an outside-the-box approach to this in order to encompass all the things we want to do and to get a great outcome for our elders. So let's just get rid of that old task. Let's make it something normal. Let's build a culture. Let's don't say it's a program. Let's do a Restore Me. Let's bring some companionship and some reminiscing into this old program, and let's just breathe some life into it. So as we sat around, and brainstormed on this, we came up what we thought was some really innovative, fun, wellness, holistic-driven companionship culture. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Angie, who's going to go into what happened after that brainstorming.
All right. Oh, this big green button? Yeah. All right. Technical difficulties here on the stage that somehow I accidentally signed us up for. So programs that spark interest. So as Annette was saying, we've worked long and hard to try to build a person-centered culture. And we align with the Eden Alternative. We have 51 homes on the Eden Alternative registry right now, out of our 56 currently that we have responsibility or oversight for. And so we really are always trying to figure out, how do all of our systems align with our mission and vision and with the mission and vision of the Eden Alternative, and really getting rid of those 3 plagues of loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. And companionship was really key for us, because we know, as many of you all have probably learned, that relationships are everything. And without the building of those relationships, you really can't build the culture at the end of the day that you're really wanting to drive, right? A person-centered culture depends on the relationships that are built inside the community. And so companionship was key. It had to be more than a clinical treatment, which is what we're used to, right? Am I echoing, or does it sound okay? It's echoing to me. That's why I'm asking. So we're used to that. Is it? Is that better? I know. Is that better? Is that better there? No, there? Okay. 1, 2, 3. All right, let me know. I know, right? I'm used to being down there. This is odd. So anyway, just saying. It's really, really important. So we're used to what the institutional model of restorative care looks like. And as we looked at our programs and things in our systems that we've changed over the years, we had realized we really didn't do a lot of change to that restorative nursing program. It kind of stuck out like a sore thumb in the new culture that we were trying to build. So our team worked really hard to start a little competition. So we're going to tell you about 2 programs. I'm going to tell you about our Route 66 walking competition, and then Ryan's going to tell you about our Back in Time dancing competition, and he's got all the cool videos to show you, so stay tuned for that, because those, I think, you're going to really get a lot of enjoyment and laughter out of. So the first thing that we did was we started to work on a program that was an actual walking competition. And we worked with our insurance provider, with his Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they outfitted all of our elders with pedometers and all of our staff members with pedometers for this competition. As we were trying to create, how do we really create that culture of wellness and that everybody is engaged in and everybody belongs to. So you get rid of the departmental silo. It doesn't just belong to nursing, the restorative staff, or, whoever is usually responsible for that task. Task-driven culture is a sign of the institution, and so we had to get rid of the task-driven culture and create a relationship-based culture. And so that's really what we've worked on with this program. So the first program we're going to talk about is Route 66. So with Route 66, we actually gave all of our homes a map, and the map looks just like you can see it there in the center where it says Restore Me. All of our homes got that map at their community where they tracked their walking progress. And then all of our homes also got a travel guide. And in that travel guide, they got a Route 66 where it starts in Chicago and where it ends in California. They got a travel guide for really cool stops along Route 66. So what they did is they captured their steps daily, and they submitted those on a weekly basis to me, but there was someone at our community that was in charge, at the home, the project point person at the community for collecting those steps. And because it was a competition. It was all about who got there first. But along the way, they had to do some really cool things. And so I'm going to kind of tell you our stops. So in June, we kind of kicked off in Chicago, and we tried to make it kind of like the Amazing Race, but not really. So that's why we called it pit stops. So the first pit stop's 299 miles away from St. Louis, and this was just some of the stuff they did. So they took a detour, and what we did was we had homes. They had to make a pit stop, and they had to take the detour. And they had very specific things that they had to do at the pit stop and the detour. Does anybody in here watch the Amazing Race or ever watched it? So kind of formatted after that TV show, where before they could continue on their race, they had to do specific things. And I'm from Kentucky, so I also have a very southern accent for you guys to learn. So we gave them, like, each month of this year, and it was a 6-month competition, they had places that they had to travel to. And we gave them a new we had to change the mileage, so we created our own scale that made sense for our elders, right? So they didn't actually walk 552 miles to Albuquerque, but that translated into what we created that mileage to be for them, just because I've had a lot of people ask that. They did walk some significant miles, and I'll share that with you, but in real miles. But we did something a little bit different here. So let's see what I've got going on. So this is like at one of the kickoff events with one of our communities. So the elders in the homes formed a team, and on that team were any elders who wanted to participate, not just those that were assigned to restorative care. So if we had elders that were there getting therapy and they wanted to participate in this program, they could participate. If we had elders who were not receiving restorative therapy or regular therapy, they could participate if they wanted to. Any of our stakeholders could sign up and participate with the elders, and they formed teams, and they did a kickoff, and they made kickoff videos, and they made kickoff T-shirts, and we gave away a ton of prizes for this competition. I'll tell you about those in a minute. So you can see they created team banners, T-shirts, the whole thing. We tried to really hype it up as much as we could, and so I've got a few pictures here to kind of show you. Like I said, the race started in Chicago, and I was at one of our homes kickoff event in Chicago, and they did a baseball event, and so they kicked off with a big baseball themed day, and they had Chicago hot dogs, and they did everything to kind of virtually, if they were traveling to that city, what were some of the aspects. We had a home that took all of the pictures down out of the hallways of their home, and they went on to the Chicago Museum of Art's website and downloaded pictures and printed them and framed them. And this was one of the coolest things that I saw done. And put the information, hung those in the hallways, and the elders traveled virtually that day to the Chicago Museum of Art, and they could see some of those amazing pieces of art that were being displayed at the museum. So it's all about the creativity, and how do we get people to really use that creativity that they have within. So each pit stop, we gave them a travel guide. They had a topic of discussion, and that topic of discussion can be used for quality of life events. So usually there might be some piece of trivia. Famous people who are from this city. What's the state bird? What's local history? It had, if you were shopping, where would you shop at if you went to Chicago? You would go to Navy Pier, right? That's what people do. They go to Navy Pier. Or if you're eating in Chicago, what are some of the places that you would eat? And we did that for every stop along Route 66. So when they got to their stop, they started to celebrate that stop, and it was a virtual travel for the time they were there at that stop. And if anybody has a question, you can raise your hand, and I'll do my best to figure out how we can get that other microphone maybe to them. And so this is just a screenshot, and this is in the app. This presentation is uploaded in the app, so you guys can probably see it better there. because you can zoom in, but that's a screenshot of what the Route 66 guide actually looked like. So if you were going to be there, you might catch a baseball game at Wrigley Field. You might visit the Shed Aquarium. You might visit the Art Institute. These are all things that you might do if you were visiting Chicago. So we just made it a really fun time. It was a 6-month competition for the elders and for our stakeholders. So here's another shot. So when they got to Springfield, Illinois, they had a detour, and this is an example of what the detour looked like. They had to complete one of the 2 tasks, take pictures, and send the pictures in so they could get clearance to walk to their next destination. So that had to all be done really quickly, right? Because this is a race, and they're trying to win the grand prize, which was a lot of money. So detour option 1 was, in honor of Main Street America, host a Diner Days party complete with milkshakes, fries, and burgers, right? Fun day. We've made it to Main Street America. Or you could, Illinois is the home of corn dogs. If you're from Illinois, I'm sorry if I've botched this up. But in recognition of this, hold a special day and serve up that treat for everyone. So we had homes that did that. They had corn dog parties. It was lots of fun. Or the state dance is a square dance. Hold a square dance at your home for the community. So they could choose, and they had to choose one of those 3 options for their detour. And we had people do all 3. So we had some people that combined a couple of them and did a couple of them together. And then once they did their detour, they could just move on and start walking to the next destination. So you can see their next stop is St. Louis, Missouri, 96.2 miles. And so they would print this out. They would give it out to the elders and to all the stakeholders on the team. And it was just a lot of excitement and buzz about it. And you can kind of see down the side, it's got the facts. So if you're in Springfield, Illinois, here's just some facts about Springfield. So we did that for all. So here's just some quick totals. Overall, over the 6-month time frame, we had 3,157 elders who participated in this program. Now, I want to put that into perspective because we as a team have oversight for about 5,500 elders. So out of our 5,500 elders, 3,157 actually participated. And a lot of our elders actually took the charge on the teams. It was very purposeful. They were in charge. They created boards in their homes. I had an elder who I met on one of our elder vacations, which we're not talking about here today. That's a different story. But she wanted to know if they were in the run to win because she had worked very hard to get this thing together. And she knew what they got to pick a project, a person-centered care project that we would fund as the grand prize up to so many thousands of dollars. And so they wanted to renovate their garden area. They had their project picked out, and she knew, she was very purposeful. They were very purposeful about it. And collectively, they walked 14,285 miles. Now, that's an awesome restorative program, isn't it? So that's in real miles. Sure enough is. So those people walked those miles. Now, Ryan's going to talk about the dancing competition, but to finish this up real quick, I want to go back. So this picture, I want to tell you just one of the community outcomes that came about from this program that we didn't expect would happen, but was really awesome that it happened. So this picture is taken in eastern Kentucky, Prestonsburg, Kentucky. And we have a home there. About 52 elders live there. It's really small, and it's right in the middle of the downtown, if you can call it a downtown in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. It's a quaint little downtown area. So the elders there would get out. They set a time that they wanted to walk. So they would get out and walk at 8 o'clock every morning. That was when they wanted to walk. That was their thing. So they wanted to walk around the downtown area. And, of course, our stakeholders went with them. In fact, they got to count their miles as more, their steps as more if a stakeholder went along with them for the walk. So that's how we encouraged companionship and built it into the program. So we encourage people to take a walk with an elder. That's what we were encouraging, community wellness. And so in this picture, what actually happened was all the people who worked in the little offices and businesses downtown started noticing that all the elders from our home were out doing this walk. And they were like, well, gosh, they're out here at 8 o'clock every morning. We're going to have to start walking with them. So then the whole downtown area, they started this whole wellness movement downtown that they still do today. The whole downtown area walks with them at 8 o'clock every morning. And these are businesses that in the summertime, they pass out water. The businesses take turns passing out waters to our elders and staff and different people who are on the walk. So think about how awesome that just turned into a completely community engagement project. And it was really an outcome that we didn't expect, but it was a really cool one. And so you can kind of see that being pictured here in this picture. But I can remember getting a text message because this project went through the winter, so it snows in eastern Kentucky. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but there's a little bit of snow that happens. It gets pretty cold in eastern Kentucky in the winter, and so the elders they were going outside to walk. And so in our clinical institutional mind, oh, you can't do that. But they were, oh, no. So I got a picture of all the elders all bundled up in their hats and gloves and coats, and the administrator sent it to me, and she said, I want to thank you for this. Looks like we're walking, and she was joking about it, but she was like, yeah, looks like we're going to be walking in the snow today. But it was just one of the great outcomes that happened. So that was the walking competition. And I'm going to let Ryan show you some fun videos and talk to you about our latest thing, which was the dancing. Yes. So she's asking how do we convert the steps to miles to steps. And so we actually had a therapist who figured out a formula, and we used that formula, and they input it into a spreadsheet. I can find that for you if you email me after. I can find that for you and email it to you. But they set us up because I'm not a mathematician, A, and I'm not very good at Excel, B. All of my weaknesses here today being recorded, 2 of them. But so they set us up with a spreadsheet that our homes used, and when they input their steps in the spreadsheet, it did an automatic conversion. Any other questions so far? Yes. So she's asking, is this something that continued on? And so we do have a lot of homes that still do a walking club. We actually had some homes that decided that chose new destinations and created their own program map. Like we had a home that walked from where they were to Disney World, and they did kind of their own thing in between. So that's been really exciting to see. As a segment, we did this program, and then we did the next one, which was a dancing program, which is a little bit different than this one. So both, I guess, is the answer to the question. Anything else? All right.
Okay. We'll go this way. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. I don't like talking in microphones either, but we're going to make this work. So a little bit about my background. I'm a nursing home administrator and social worker, and I grew up in a home where dancing was really not something we did. I don't know, so I don't think that I have rhythm at all. And I get this call one day from Angie, and she says, we're about ready to start our second phase of the Restore Me program, and we're going to do this whole dance competition, and we're going to need some help with that. And we have a lot of cool things about the place where we work, but one of the most awesome things is you may never know what you're going to be involved with. And so we do this thing called Agile teams. Have you guys ever heard of Agile teams? Agile, A-G-I-L-E, Agile teams. It's where a lot of different folks with different abilities and backgrounds come together, and you're assigned a task or a project to work on, and you guys meet and work on it, and we see what comes from it. And you just kind of start with a blank slate and keep going. So, Angie tells me, hey, you're going to be on this Back in Time team. We really want you on there. And she said, Annette's going to be the coach. I was like, okay. So I show up at the first meeting, and she's like, well, we've got to have a team lead here, and I think we want Ryan to be the team lead. And I'm like, have you looked at me lately? I mean, do I look like I dance? What is this about? I know nothing about it. And so, I said, okay, we can roll with this. So we have a team of a few folks that met and started working on this project. And throughout our work, we were like, what do we want this to be like? Because Route 66 was really, really successful. So we wanted something that would build off of that, would be a lot of fun. And so our team met, and we came up with, as you can see, the purpose there in the middle of the screen. And we decided our purpose was to create an elder-centered culture that encompasses relationship building, creativity, reminiscing, and learning with accountability regardless of limitations. Because when you think about dancing, one of the first things is the movement there. So if someone uses a wheelchair, how is that going to look? How is that going to work? So we wanted to make sure it could appeal to people of all abilities, ages, everything. So we started there. And so we thought, how is this all going to work? So we decided that we would do a dance video competition, okay, where the homes would create, produce, do the video all the way through and submit it for judging at the end. So very much almost like a Dancing with the Stars, except a video competition. So we started out and thought, everybody loves the 80s. So we're going to kick the whole program off with the 80s. But we thought we need to do several other decades there. And we thought maybe the 1930s all the way up to the 1980s because, the folks living in the homes, they either, remember that or heard their families talk about it or lived through those times. So we thought that would be a good time frame. And we wanted to make sure that it was a collaborative effort among the neighborhoods in the home, that it wasn't just something that the restorative nurse or the quality of life director or those folks would be working on. We wanted everybody to be involved with it. And we wanted to make sure that it would be engagement in physical activity that fosters fun, creativity, and relationships. Big word there, relationships. We wanted to make sure that it drew our stakeholders and our elders closer together. So that's a little bit about how that program started out. So we thought, why dancing? Why choose this one? And we've got a few benefits listed there. As you can see, the range of motion, the positioning. So really focusing on the range of motion, and that was the modality we would focus on there. The ambulation, the gait training, the balance that it takes, transfers, self-care, ADLs, cognition, and communication. Because throughout all of these dance practices, they're working on different aspects of all of these things. So we thought this was a really good place to go with this project. So some of our back in time guidelines here. Like I said, this program spanned the decades of the 1930s through the 1980s. And we started in July of 2017, and it ran through December. And then we finished up with our finals this spring. We wanted to make sure that this was spontaneous because we didn't want the homes to try to guess ahead about which decade we were going to be doing and working ahead. So we made sure that we randomly released the decades to the home. So around the 15th of the month, we would say, okay, next month, this is the decade you guys are going to be focusing on. So it would give them a few weeks to start planning before they started their practices. And I'll tell you more about their practices and things like that in just a minute. But as you can see, we did the 1980s, then we went from the 80s to the 50s, then the 70s, the 30s, the 40s, and the 60s. So just kind of jumping around everywhere. Each decade lasted 1 month. And so the teams did a dance practice throughout that month, almost every day, working on, what do we want this video to be like? And they had full creativity there. It just had to make sure that it was a song and a dance from the decade that was being featured. That was pretty much the only guideline around that. And they could pick whatever song, whatever dance. We did give them maybe 2 options that they could go with, but then we thought, hey, use your own creativity, and we saw a lot of great things, and you guys are going to get to see those in a minute. So then at the end of each month, they would submit these videos in, and we'd had a panel of guest judges that would come together, and they would judge these videos from all of our regions and then across the segment. And then what we would do is we would take those videos and send them out, the winners, send them out in a link so that all the homes could see who won and what the other homes were doing. So building that connectivity there as well. And again, we wanted to make sure it was an interdisciplinary approach, and each neighborhood in the home had to sponsor a decade. So again, there was planning at the home on who's going to do the 80s, Or maybe next month, is social work going to take over the 30s or whatever? So we had it lined out so that it would be different disciplines, different neighborhoods taking on those decades. And we tried to hardwire this because, with projects like this, you want to make sure it's hardwired and that it's working well. So we had a checklist that the administrator or CEO had to go through and verify that these are the things that happened this month, and they would send it in. So it was all part of the competition to make sure these things were happening. Then to prevent an injury in these dance practices, we had to make sure that warm-up and cool-down period, and there was a total of 30 minutes total, so 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after the dancing was required for the warm-up and cool-down. And our teams were required to participate in all pieces of the program, so they had to do the dance practice, the dance video, they had to have food or tactile activities, and we'll show you a list of some of those examples, trivia events, and then they had to present the proof that they did all of this. So those are some of our guidelines. And of course, we wanted to make sure and track the data throughout this. So we thought, what things do we want to measure here? And a lot of this information is stuff that's pulled from, the MDS assessments and so on. So it was stuff that we already had or had ways to track. And so we looked at falls, behavior symptoms, participation, cognition. And the way we looked at the cognition, we had trivia questions. And I'll show you some examples of those. And so they were asked those questions in a pretest, 5 questions that related to that decade. And they were gauged on, how many they got correct. And then at the end of the 30 days, after going over this trivia and seeing it in various places, they were tested again with the same 5 questions to see if there was an improvement in cognition. ADL scores, the PHQ-9, Perceived Mood Questionnaire, their BIMS, and then the trivia pre-test and post-test, okay? So we did the team banners, just like you saw with Route 66. Each home had to create their own banner and exhibit that, and those were judged. So those are some examples there. I think the one that ended up winning was the DeLoreans there in the middle overall, so that was really cool. Okay. And so we thought, okay, the homes, they need to see something that's going to get them really excited about this and give them some ideas. So we started talking in our little agile team that I mentioned, and we said, how are we going to do this? So one of our team members, Ronnie, she had looked online and found this YouTube video of this guy, and I can't remember his name, but anyway, it was this crazy choreographer that did a video all about, it was I think a Meghan Trainor song, and he had 2 dancers behind him of different sizes and abilities, and so he was having them do the same dances he was doing by coaching them through it. And it was amazing because they were able to do those dances, and we thought, what would it be like if we could create that? And so we started asking around, well, you don't dance. Do you dance? No, nobody danced. So we're still like, how do we do this? And so we learned that we had a gentleman working in the home office that was a choreographer that worked with cheer camps and things like that. And so we said, hey, how about doing these instructional videos for us? So each decade, and his name is Jermaine, and he's really, really awesome, does a great job. So he would record these videos, and we would send them out to the home so that they could get kind of a jump start on how we're going to do this. And so now I want to show you one from the 1950s, just so you get an idea of what the homes were seeing.
Hey guys, welcome back to Dancing Through the Ages. My name is Jermaine Edwards, and today we're going to visit the 1950s. The dance we're going to learn today is called the hand jive.
Feel free to do it along with him if you like.
All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, 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 rockin' robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' robin, tweet, tweet, blow rockin' robin, 'cause we really gonna rock 'em tonight. Every little swallow, every chickadee, every little bird in the tall oak.
All right guys, let's learn the hand jive. It's made up of 5 easy components, all performed by your hands. So first one we're going to do is slap. And then next we're going to clap. And then we're going to slice it. And then we're going to pound it. And then throw it to the right. And throw it to the left. So those are the easy components that we start off with. And then once we do everything 2 times. How many times? 2 times. So it'll go like this. Slap, slap, clap, clap, slice, slice, and pound, then throw it, and throw it. Just like that. And for all my friends out there in wheelchairs, don't worry, we got you. You can do this dance too because it's all upper body and don't have to worry about getting up. So just like we said earlier, you want to slap first, and then you're going to clap, then slice, then pound it, then throw, and throw. Got it?
He rocks in the treetop all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet.
All right, guys, now that you know the hand jive, don't forget to push record and send those videos. Again, I'm Jermaine Edwards, and this is Dancing Through the Ages.
Every little bird in the tall oak tree, the wise or loud, the big black crow, flap of their wings, sing and go, bird, go, rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' Robin.
Yeah, so Jermaine would do those videos for us, and not in this one, but some of the other ones, he would say, okay, my friends in wheelchairs, we've got you covered, and he would be in a wheelchair doing the movements for them as well. So really, really cool job with those videos, and we would send them out to the homes, and they would show them on the big screen TVs and start their practices and go from there. So really cool experience with that. So now I want to show you this video from one of our homes.
Good on the radio.
Have you ever heard of Blast from the Past?
Who are you?
I'm from Blast from the Past Productions. We have a complete record album made just for you. Songs like this one.
Splish splash, I was taking a bath. Long about a Saturday night. Yeah, rubbed up, just relaxing in the tub. Thinking everything was
Earth angel, will you be mine, my darling dear? Love you all the time. See you later, alligator. Have the wild crocodile. See you later, alligator. Have the wild crocodile. Can't you see you're in my way now? 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Put that rags on, showing me how we'll have some fun when the clock strikes 1. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight.
Walking through a party in the county jail. The prison band was there, they began to wail. The band was jumping and the joint began to swing. You should have heard this knocked out jailbird sing. Let it rock. Everybody let it rock. Everybody in the whole cell block was dancing to the jailhouse rock. Spider Murphy played his tenor saxophone. Little Joe was blowing on the slide trombone. The drummer boy from Illinois would crash, boom, bang. The whole rhythm section was a purple gang. Let it rock.
To order right now, as a special bonus, our Quality of Life Director will come and clean your house for free.
So as you can see, I mean, we didn't give them a lot of guidelines, and they piled the creativity just right in. You notice they did do the hand jive in there as part of their video, but they were judged on, their creativity, They were judged on their technique, but then also costumes, because costumes were required in each video. So they were judged on that. And then what you saw was what we would call our team video. We had two categories. We had the team video, and that could be, it had to be stakeholders and elders. And then we also have couple category, where it could be an elder and a stakeholder, two elders, an elder and a family member, but an elder always had to be a part of that couple. So we did the two categories, and each team had to submit a group or team video, but then couples was optional. So that was just an added way for them to win. So what you saw there was a team video. And next, I want to show you the couples video that was a big hit for us, and I think you'll love it as well.
New Signature's home office. You want to ride with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think so? So what do you think about some jams? You think we should jam on the way? Who do you think we should listen to?
We should get Wiz.
Wiz?
Yeah.
As in Wiz Khalifa? No. Somebody else. Who else? Who else you
How
want?
about Kanye?
Kanye West. Really? Okay. No. Somebody else. Got to be somebody else.
How about Beaver?
Get out of my car. Get out of my car right
All
now.
right.
No. All right. And besides, why are you referring to all these artists by one name?
Because I'm down and out.
Oh, you're down. Oh, you're down. You're not only down, you're out. Oh, okay. All right. Well, listen. Why don't we listen to something a little bit more decade appropriate? How's that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think I got just the song.
Oh yeah, baby. Like a fool, I went and stayed too long. I'm wondering if your love's still strong. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Then that time I went and said goodbye. Now I'm back and not ashamed to cry. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Here I am, baby. Oh, you got me feeling she in my name. Here I am, baby. You got me feeling she in my name. I've done a lot of foolish things that I really didn't mean. Yeah, didn't I? Oh, baby. Seen a lot of things in this old world. When I touch them, they mean nothing, girl. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. I'm yours. Ooh, wait, baby, you set my soul on fire. That's why I know you're my only desire. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Here I am, baby. Whoa, you got my future in your hands, baby. Here I am, baby. You got my future in your hands, baby. Yeah, I've done a lot of foolish
So, we've been dancing in the parking lot for about 3 minutes now. You think we ought to get on the road? You driving? No. Well, no, I think you should drive. I'm a little tired. I think I'm just gonna take a nap. You drive. At Kanye.
Kanye!
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 Kanye, then who else? Bieber. Biebs. The Biebs.
The Beaver.
The Biebs.
Yeah.
What do you think? How's it looking? What do you think? It looks good. The whole hat was just off. She goes, it looks good.
So a little bit of information about that video. The lady with the long hair there, that's Lindsay. She's the CEO, the administrator there at that home. And then Fran, she lives there. And you can just tell, I mean, that's what kind of relationship they have to be able to pull that video off. And you had all that awesome range of motion. But then the creativity, because that was the 70s, and we gave them the YMCA and the Village People. And so you saw a little bit of that going on in there. So just a little bit of everything thrown into that video. So over the course of the program, we got all these videos and found the top 3 from each decade in both of those categories. And so then we had our finalists compete in another video challenge that happened this spring where they did a 90s video. Okay, so then with that, those were judged and we had overall winners. And so I want to show you just one of those from our team group that shows again the creativity with the costumes, the music, and just everything they were able to do from this.
This is Mambo number 5. Jump up and down, move it all around. Shake your hand to the sound, put your hands on the ground. Take one step left and one step right. One to the front and one to the side. Clap your hands once, clap your hands twice. A little bit of Monica in my life, a little bit of Erica on my side, a little bit of Rita, what I need, a little bit of Tina, what I see, a little bit of Sandra in the sun.
So again, you can just see all of the amazing effort that was put into this. I mean, the costumes, just and the judges love the synchronization. I mean, you can tell they practiced every single day on this, and it was a huge hit for them. So within this, you can see that we have the Eden Alternative 7 domains of well-being. You guys are familiar with those, right? Raise your hand if you're familiar with the 7 domains of well-being. Okay, good deal. So what I was wondering, and I just want you guys to kind of shout out what you think, and we'll try to repeat it for the microphones, but with the first one, identity, what did you see in these two programs that really focused on identity for the elders here? Any ideas? Their input? Yeah, definitely elder-driven. They created the scripts, their costumes, everything. Any others? The music choices. We would find in certain states or certain areas that they preferred one particular type of music over the others. And it was really, really cool to see the differences. And we even had one home, and I want to say it was the 1940s, they did a Christmas song, and it was not Christmas time, but that was the one they chose and wanted to work with. So again, major focus on identity. Connectedness. Come on now, I know you got for this one. What did you see? Yeah, participation. What else? Good sports, totally. I mean, from just the dancing, but dressing up crazy and acting silly. Yeah. Relationships, all about relationships. And that was our biggest goal with this. I mean, we really wanted to strengthen the relationships there. What about autonomy? Something that they chose to do. Again, choosing the music, choosing the dance that they wanted to do, and then being able to change it up along the way. Maybe start out with this one idea and then change it to something else. Meaning, tell me about that one. Oh, yeah. Lots of laughs with this, especially us when we were judging them or helping with the judging. It's like, I can't believe they just did that. Yeah. What else? Totally. And we asked some of the homes to send us some quotes on, what some of the elders said. And there was one home that they went out into the community. And you saw that in Putnam's video there of the 50s where they were out at various places like the jail and so on. But this home went to a train depot. And one of the elders told the quality of life director, she said, "Oh my gosh, I remember coming here as a child." And, she started talking about the stories of the trains and things there. So total wealth of meaning around this program. What about security? Yeah, safety while having fun. They weren't afraid to act silly and dress up, and but with security, what else? Any other ideas? Yeah, the familiar staff. So, and we do have the consistent assignments. So the same elders working with, same stakeholders working with the same elders. But the safety, the trust. Any other ideas? I think that with security, once they see what they've produced at the end, the whole, I can do this. It really puts this whole depth of belief that I can do it, and there's not that fear anymore. So I love that. What about growth? Yeah, doing things they may not have done in a long time, learning new dance steps that they may not have done. What else?
They could do this, they'll do whatever crazy things you come up with next, because they already have success in this, and they're creating great stories on all levels, even the practice will generate great stories.
Yeah. And along with growth, what do you think this is doing for the stakeholders, the employees that work with these elders on a level of growth? What's that? Yeah, enhancing their relationships and seeing the elders on a different level than what the task is that they're having to do. And then last we have joy. What about joy? It's easy. A lot of smiles, a lot of laughter, packed full of joy. So you can see these two programs are so much more than just restorative. It touches on all of those domains of well-being. All right. So what I'd like for you guys to do right now, and you probably have this on your app. So those of you that have your app pulled up, there's a grid or a template for a brainstorming exercise. And if you don't have that, don't worry. It's really easy. We don't want you guys to get real formal with it. But what I want you to do is, those of you at the table, and if you're at a table by yourself or maybe just two people, feel free to group up and get with other folks. And we want you to try to look at this template and determine as a group, if we were given this task to create a restorative or a wellness program, what would it look like? So pretend you got that phone call that I got that says, hey, you're going to be on this Agile team and you're going to work on this. We'll put up a list of modalities so you can choose from those. You don't have to even think of that on your own. But we want you to just come up with a clear purpose, a specific measurable goal, and then steps that you would do to reach that goal, and then maybe how you would communicate it to the folks working around. And then which domains of well-being would you want to really spotlight or focus on? So everyone clear on those instructions? Does that make sense? Okay. And so a list of the restorative modalities that you might pick. We've got range of motion, splint or brace assistance, bed mobility, transfer, ambulation, dressing or grooming, eating or communication. So we'll give you just a few minutes and we'll be around, and then we want to hear from some of you what you came up with. Okay? All right, so let's come back together. I know that wasn't much time to work on this, but I hope it gave you an idea of what this could be like when you take it back to your homes and work as a team there. So now I'd like to hear from some of you out there what you came up with. And don't worry about having all the specifics, but we've got a volunteer here, and Angie's going to run down with a mic so we can hear you.
I'm running. I'm coming for you, baby. Getting my steps in.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we talked about the eating or the dining experience. So we thought that residents needed to enjoy the dining experience a little bit more than what they currently do. One of our goals were to maybe have the residents be able to feed themselves at least 25% of their meal instead of us having to feed it to them. We thought maybe we could do more like a restaurant style experience with different food choices, maybe different tastes, different textures, instead of the residents getting a green glob, a brown glob, and a white glob, and just kind of make it a little bit different. Even maybe having, serving an appetizer first in a bowl, and then maybe the main course, a salad, stuff like that. And then we thought maybe having the food made from scratch, instead of the processed food that they currently get, maybe having some kind of, garden where they can go out and pick tomatoes and use them to cook and stuff like on that sort. And maybe doing adaptive equipment if they need the adaptive equipment, the different spoons and forks and stuff like that. And encouraging and cueing them, and maybe just, doing the smaller portions, like I said, for them to not be so overwhelmed when they get a plate with all this food on it and they don't know what to do with it. And then just, the overall goal would be to improve their dining experience.
Awesome. So I heard her talk about range of motion. I heard her talk about eating. I heard her possibly talk about ambulation, maybe even transfer and that. So think of all of those things. Who's next? We'll go here and then we'll go there.
Okay, so we decided to focus on eating, and we decided we're going to do desserts around the world theme. And we were going to have the groups pick regions. So it could be like American, Mediterranean, like different regions of the world, and research that region and what would be traditional there, and then pick recipes, and then, they'd have to pick, how to get that food, the supplies, etc., and then have them make it as a competition, like a Top Chef or a Cupcake Wars type of thing, so that they would have a cook-off with their recipes.
Awesome. That's a great idea. Let's go over here to Judy. Next up.
Okay, so our Agile team focused on Olympics. And so at the facility level or the campus level, they could pick, they could choose their opening ceremony for their action step, and then they could, pick their events. So it could be broom hockey, balloon volleyball, cooking, walking track, like a dressing sweater, taking on and off a sweater or something like that. So ADL, range of motion, and then the campus teams, they could be creative. It could be clinical people, resident services, culinary, the timeline 30 to 60 days. Resources could be life enrichment teams, environmental services, community donations, and then the well-beings of would be, the domains of well-being would be joy, identity, autonomy. A lot of them would be covered in that.
Awesome. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share? Okay, no more brave people. Those are great ideas.
Those are great. Thank you for sharing those. So what I wanted to tell you a little bit more about on the Back in Time is we passed out a resource each month to the home along with that video that had food ideas from each decade. So again, we had eating in that program as well. And then we also had movies, books from that decade. Then I mentioned the trivia already, but then we had just some news from around the world, like the top 5 news stories in that decade. And so we sent that out, and the homes could create activities around that. So not really saying you have to do this specific activity, but saying here's some ideas, take it and make it your own. So that autonomy there as well. All right, so at this point, do we have any questions about any of these programs or the presentation in general? Is there a question? Oh, Judy, I'm sorry. Let me jump down here. Those lights are really blinding up there.
My question was, how did you fund for each program that you did, for the costumes and for all the things? I'm sure there's expenses involved in it.
Actually, we recommended that the homes use their goodwill, use things from home. And you saw in the video, most of the things were things that were already laying around in the Quality of Life Director's office or at folks' homes. But then again, using the community, like going to the county jail. We had a home that went to their local movie theater and did their video. So again, that's almost like a marketing aspect there, is building that connection with your community. So it was just, we didn't say go out and buy all this stuff. Use what you already have. They went to the local jail, yeah. They totally did, yeah. Other questions?
So did you find that it helps change your culture in your home? Because there's such a big engagement, and then are you planning on continuing, like always doing a new event and a new project to continue with the momentum?
Yeah, I think it really did change the culture in our homes because, I mean, you saw the relationships, you saw the fun that was going on there, but not only did that home build it within their home, they shared it with other homes around them. So you got to know each time, if that home was one of your top winners, you would see the elders involved, and you're like, who is that? And you would know their name, and you'd know why they like this. And so they would begin to talk, like the Quality of Life directors would say, what are we doing this month? Well, we don't want to let out our secret, but then after it was done, they would share how they did it and, like some techniques on filming. They were using phones and iPads and all of that to do the filming. So, yeah, I think the culture really got stronger with the relationships. Also, as far as moving forward, yes, we want to continue with what's the next one. So we're not real sure at this point, but, it pops up just like we planned it for these two. Any other questions?
So you mentioned during the presentation that you collected data on your MDS scores before you started the program. So what was your data after the program?
And so on the data, it was collected baseline. So we had a beginning data, then they had to submit each quarter from there. And so it was a 6 months program. And so we did that. As far as the data, Annette, do you want to say anything on that?
Well, here's where we stand right now. Just from looking at it, we think we've definitely made some progress. But we actually have a gentleman in our company by the name of Jeff Beatty, who is a researcher. And so we have him and his partner right now looking at all that information. And we are hoping that this comes out in a research paper. So we're working on that, so stay tuned, and we'll get that information to you. But, it takes a while to get, because we had, how many homes participate, Ryan?
Well, there were, at the beginning, 56, and
Yeah,
then I
they
would say
kinda-
over half participated.
Yeah, they kind of dropped off because it was kind of difficult due to the fact that we asked them for all this information, because we knew from the front end that we wanted to measure our data, and we had a lot of data we wanted to measure. And so we're hoping from that we can show that this was a positive outcome. So they're still working on getting all those 50-something spreadsheets together and getting it to our statistician.
So do you have a goal for your facilities that they need to participate in so many of these events, or is it totally optional for them?
It's optional for them. We encourage them to do so because at the end of our Route 66, we had an awards that we put together and videoed that and actually gave them trophies, and we gave them some monetary incentive at the beginning, but the back in time, we do elder vacations every year. And so with the back in time, whoever won, we gave them like $1,000 or whatever toward the elder vacation. So they participated on their own. And I think we had more participation with the Route 66 than with back in time, because I think the back in time was a little bit more intensive. So we're hoping to now look for something that could be even maybe less intensive, less work, but still get the same participation and outcome. You know, we've thrown around basketball and baseball, and I think, Angie, you even had another idea. You know, whatever we're working on next. So whatever the Agile team and us come up with, or whatever the communities would like to do, we're in for it. Because listen, we let people parasail and parachute and do anything else they want. So it's all about saying yes, we can versus no, we can't. So.
Yeah, and you know, the homes are really competitive, so they don't want another home to beat them. So with those prizes, they're all about it, and that helps, you know, motivate them there. Any other questions real quick? Okay.
Minutes worth it, no. It's actually more of just sort of, you were talking about the competitions that you do. You accept one from Canada? No, I'm just kidding. One of the things we do at Schlegel Villages is we do the mannequin challenge. So each village, they'll do the mannequin. So you'll kind of going down the village hallways and you'll see everybody kind of standing still, or they'll do flash mobs. Everybody's kind of carrying on their business, and then all of a sudden, you know, everybody's doing their thing. But I love the whole idea of the dance. It's fantastic.
All right, thank you. I think we're going to wrap up the questions there, and we're going to move to one last video to kind of close out with. So we'll get that queued up. And this was just one of the very first ones we received, but the creativity is outrageous.
Said
Who knew your elevator could be a time machine?
Tell me, doctor, where are we going this time? Is this the 50s or 1999? All I wanted to do was play my guitar and sing. So take me away, I don't mind, but you better promise me I'll be back in time. Gotta get back in time. Don't bet your future on the roll of the dice. Better remember, lightning never strikes twice. Please don't drive me. Don't wanna be late again. So take me away. I don't mind, but you better promise me I'll be back in time. Gotta get back in time. Gotta get back in time. Get me back in time.
So I'm going to cut that one because we learned in this process that you do have to give the homes a time limit. I think that video was like 8 minutes long if you timed it out, so we ended up having to adjust as we went along. So I hope you could see just from that and, you know, talking about Route 66, how much fun we've had with these two programs. And we've got your CEU code there on the screen. Anything you guys want to say before we wrap up? Okay. Thank y'all for attending today. You guys have been great.